In just under 3 minutes, Melania Trump reduced one of America's most confident late-night hosts to stunned silence, without raising her voice once. But what came next, a single accusation so brutal it shattered her armor on live television, turned this into the most vicious family confrontation ever broadcast. The studio lights at Jimmy Kimmel Live burned hotter than usual. The band had just rapped their final chord and the crowd was electric, clapping, whistling, sensing something big was coming. Camera operators adjusted lenses. Everyone backstage moved faster than normal, like animals sensing a storm. Then she appeared. Melania Trump stepped through the curtain in a crimson dress so vivid it pulsed under the spotlights. No smile, no wave, just a woman walking with the kind of purpose that makes people step aside. Her heels struck the stage with sharp, deliberate clicks. The crowd erupted, half thrilled, half uneasy, because nobody knew why she was here tonight. Jimmy stood behind his desk, arms wide, flashing that signature grin. "Ladies and gentlemen, Melania Trump." The band kicked in again, but something in the atmosphere had already shifted. Melania did not sit. She walked straight to center stage, lifted the microphone, and waited until silence swallowed the room. "Too many people have told lies about my family," she said, each word landing heavy. "Lies about who we are, who my son really is. For years, I stayed silent. But tonight, that silence is finished. Consider this my last warning. Keep spreading poison about us, and you will learn what happens when the truth fights back." The audience inhaled as one. Most people simply stared, stunned. Jimmy leaned forward, trying to steer things lighter. "Whoa, easy. You're making this sound like a spy thriller. Sit down. Let's talk." "No." The word landed like a fist on a table. "I did not come here to chat. I came to say what needs saying. And you are going to hear every word." Jimmy's grin froze. The band went silent. The studio walls seemed to contract around them. He switched to something sharper. "You come out with this last warning speech, fine. But when those Epstein documents dropped, your people pointed straight at Iran. Textbook distraction. And now you're telling the press to keep quiet. Funny how free speech only matters when it works in your favor." Low murmurs rippled through the crowd. "We're not the ones you can intimidate," Jimmy pressed. "Millions of people have questions about your family. Maybe instead of threats, try giving answers." Melania's knuckles whitened around the mic. "You only care about ratings, Jimmy. You invite me here pretending it's real. But all you want is the viral clip. The headline that reads Melania snaps. You want clicks, views, another season." The audience fractured. Some clapping for her, others booing Jimmy. Jimmy raised his palms. "Ratings? Guilty, but I didn't fabricate those documents. I didn't invent the whispers about Barron. Those questions exist because people are curious. And when someone famous says, 'Stop asking,' folks ask louder." Melania's eyes narrowed. "You are not curious. You are a predator, circling prey. You push until someone shatters. But I will not shatter for you tonight." Jimmy tilted his head. "If it's all so meaningless, why are you here shaking with anger? You could have stayed home. But you're on my stage, furious. That tells me something." That hit her. A tiny hesitation the cameras caught like a photograph. "Because someone has to stop the lies before they consume everything," she said. "Let us see how far you are willing to push." The room dropped into silence, so complete you could hear the buzz of stage lights. Jimmy locked eyes with hers. "I'm willing to go all the way. The question is, are you?" She did not answer, and then Jimmy said it. Every trace of humor drained from his face. The words came out plain and steady. "Barron is not your biological son." The sentence detonated like a bomb. The audience reacted as one body. Chairs scraping, gasps erupting, phones trembling in sweaty hands. The equilibrium of the room tilted sideways. Melania went rigid. The microphone shook in her grip. Color drained from her face so fast you could watch it happen in real time. Then shock ripped open into fury. "You disgusting lowlife!" she hissed, voice climbing into a ragged shout. "How dare you say that about my child? About my son?" She stepped toward him, red dress flaring. The audience went perfectly still, hundreds of people frozen like witnesses to a car wreck. Jimmy held her stare. "I'm not the one who invented it. The internet's been saying it for years. I'm just the first person who asked to your face. If it's false, prove it. But don't pretend I created the question." Melania shook her head hard. "Barron is my son, mine. I carried him. I brought him into this world. I raised him every single day. You do not get to steal that from me." Her voice splintered on the last word. Not from weakness, but from rage that had outgrown its container. Jimmy raised both hands. "I'm asking you to prove it. One DNA test. Done right here. No more rumors. What's stopping you?" The studio held its breath. Every eye locked on Melania. "You have no idea what you just started." Jimmy pressed a button and the massive screen blazed to life. "Let's look at what's already public record. Your husband, on camera, in his own words, Clips rolled. Old interviews where Trump spoke about Ivanka in terms that crossed boundaries most fathers never approach. Radio audio. Magazine excerpts with highlighted quotes no context could soften. The audience groaned. Melania's face turned to stone, eyes flicking to the screen, then away fast. Jimmy killed the screen. That's your husband, recorded, talking about his own daughter in ways that make people deeply uncomfortable. So when the public asks questions about your family, they're not reaching. Melania's eyes blazed. Are you trying to suggest something between Donald and Ivanka? You drag me here, throw my son in my face, and now twist old interviews to paint my husband as a monster? You are disgusting. Jimmy didn't blink. I'm playing back what he said. People hear those words and they wonder, and wondering leads to questions, like the ones about Barron. He hit another button. Just audio this time. A grainy recording from a private gathering. Unmistakably Trump's voice, warm and uncomfortably intimate. One sentence, raw, no context. The words hung in dead air like smoke. The studio went quieter than a held breath. A woman in the third row covered her mouth. Melania's composure fractured in stages, like cracks spreading across ice. Her shoulders sagged, eyes glistened, voice came out thinner. That was a father expressing pride in his daughter, she said. But it sounded hollow, like she was convincing herself. For the first time since walking out in that crimson dress, she looked diminished. Jimmy leaned in, softer but relentless. Then clear the record, one test, or we keep playing these recordings. Then something shifted behind her eyes. Vulnerability hardened into focus. She pulled out her phone and held it up like a shield. You want proof? Fine. I came prepared too. She played an audio recording. Their former nanny Maria, describing the pregnancy, the birth, the first weeks. Specific, detailed, the kind of testimony that carries weight because it lacks drama. Melania lowered the phone. That is a woman who was in the room, who held my son when I couldn't keep my eyes open. So before you demand DNA on live television, ask yourself why you're so desperate to destroy a mother. Half the audience erupted in cheers. Jimmy's smirk cracked for the first time all night, but Melania was not finished. Let's talk about you, Jimmy. I remember an interview years ago. You had a vulnerable guest on and pushed them until they cried on camera, then cut to commercial like it was nothing. You never apologized. She let the words land. Do not lecture me about truth. You built your career on breaking people. At least when I fight for my child. What's your excuse? The crowd detonated. Cheers crashed against boos. Arguments erupted in the aisles. Security exchanged nervous glances. Jimmy leaned forward, humor gone. That was years ago, but you still haven't answered. Why not take the test and end this tonight? Melania stepped closer. Because I do not owe you my DNA. I do not owe you my privacy. Keep pushing. Every time you do, more people see what you really are. A bully with a microphone. She turned to the audience. Who is with me? Cheers surged. Sections chanted her name while others demanded answers. The divide split the studio down the middle. Jimmy didn't wait for quiet. Enough dancing. Take a DNA test. We have a kit backstage. Clear your name tonight. What do you say? Dead silence. Crew members froze. The audience leaned forward as one. Melania stared at him. For one moment she looked small. The red dress suddenly too large, the spotlights too harsh. Then something broke loose. She stepped to the edge of the stage, voice trembling. You want me to prove I'm his mother? With a cotton swab? Fine. Let me tell you what being a mother actually means. 9 months of carrying him. Every kick. Weeks of sickness, but going to every appointment alone. The birth, holding her own hand because no one else was allowed. Skin-to-skin contact while both of them cried. Sleepless nights walking circles through the nursery, singing Slovenian lullabies her mother once sang to her. Every diaper, every first word. Thunderstorms when he ran to her bed. The scraped knee when he called for her. Not nannies, not staff, her. Her voice climbed through all of it, shaking with emotion. Then the tears dried up. You think this humiliates me? She shouted. It humiliates you. You're reducing my entire life as a mother to a cotton swab for ratings. I will not let you turn my son into your circus act. The crowd shattered. Jimmy's jaw tightened. Then give us something verifiable. Tonight. Melania pulled a folded paper from her clutch, creased from being carried a long time. This is the hospital discharge summary from Lenox Hill, the day Barron was born. My name as mother, Donald as father, baby's footprints, my signature. I do not need your swab. I have proof. She slapped it down on the table. The sound cracked through the microphones. Jimmy glanced at it. A start, but still not a live test. Because some things are sacred, Jimmy. He reached under his desk and hit play without warning. Another private recording. Trump's voice, loosened by drinks, uncomfortably intimate. The clip cut off abruptly, leaving raw silence. The audience groaned. Melania went ashen. "You got someone to record my family in private?" she hissed. "You are not a host. You are a predator." Jimmy stayed seated. "Someone recorded it. Someone leaked it. You can't keep insisting it's out of context when the context keeps showing up." Melania advanced toward his desk. "No more clips. Get me a live video call right now. I have a family insider ready to speak on camera. You want real answers? Set it up, unless you're scared." The studio descended into pandemonium. Half screamed encouragement. The other half shouted it was insane. The drummer hit a cymbal by accident, the clang cutting through noise like a blade. "Melania, take a breath." "Do not tell me to take a breath." She stepped closer, finger aimed at his face. "Set up the call. Now." Security moved fast. Lights flickered. The noise hit a deafening peak. Jimmy stood. "Bring them on. I'm not afraid. But if this is another stall, it's the end of your witch hunt," she fired back, tears breaking free but voice holding firm. "Make the call, or admit you only wanted the dirt." Then something snapped. She spun toward Jimmy one final time and hurled the microphone across the stage. It sailed in a high arc, cord trailing like a whip, and crashed near his desk with a distorted crack that blasted through every speaker. "Your end is coming, Jimmy," she screamed. "Your show, your lies, it's all collapsing." Half the crowd roared. Security surged forward. Jimmy stepped around his desk. "Channel that energy into the DNA test. Truth doesn't care about theatrics. You can run, but you can't hide forever." She stopped dead at the stage edge. Back to him, shoulders rigid. The crimson dress caught the spotlights one last time. Slowly, she turned halfway, tear-streaked, furious, but something new in her eyes. A cold, calculated calm more frightening than any explosion. "The real secret was never about Barron," she said, voice low, but carrying through every live microphone. "It's about what Donald did to protect this family, what he buried so deep no one was supposed to find it. You think tonight was bad? Wait until that comes out. Then you'll learn what real destruction looks like." She held his gaze for one scorching second. No more tears, just steel. Then she walked off, slow, deliberate, head high, the red dress trailing behind her like a wound. The audience detonated. Screams, applause, boos, breathless murmurs. Nobody tried to stop her. They didn't dare. Jimmy stood alone center stage, breathing hard, staring at the empty doorway. He turned to the camera. No grin, no joke, just raw intensity. "America, I don't know what to say. That wasn't an interview. That was a war. She fought with everything. Recordings, documents, tears, a microphone turned missile, and she left us with more questions than answers." He paused, letting silence stretch. "But that last thing she said, that's what nobody will forget. The real secret isn't about Barron. It's about what Donald did to protect the family, what he buried." And she looked me dead in the eye like she knows exactly what's coming next. He stepped closer to the camera. "Whatever she's holding back, it's not staying buried. Not after tonight. And if it's half as explosive as it sounded, this is only the beginning." He held the lens for one final beat. "This is not over, not even close." The screen faded to the Jimmy Kimmel Live logo. No music, just silence. Then credits rolling over stunned faces still staring at an empty stage, waiting for a curtain that never moved again. If this left you speechless, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. These stories aren't just drama. They reveal how power really works. Drop a comment. Do you believe her? Share this before the next chapter drops. This story is far from finished.